Hello and welcome to News 9 Live. I'm Sumaira Khan and let's begin this bulletin by first having a look at what's happening in Israel-Hamas war.
The following content may contain visuals that are disturbing, graphic, or sensitive in nature. Viewer discretion is advised. This material is intended for mature audiences and may not be suitable for all viewers. Please exercise caution while watching, and if you find such content distressing, we recommend discontinuing viewing. This disclaimer is provided to ensure awareness and to prioritize viewer well-being.
The war between Israel and Hamas has now entered its 51st day. Let's get you the latest update on your screens. Second batch of hostages, 13 Israelis and 4 Thai nationals were released by Hamas and they arrive in Israel. Israel frees 39 Palestinians, including 6 women and 33 minors. Israeli troops kill 6 Palestinians in West Bank. Hamas threatens to delay next hostage release over Gaza aid dispute. 14,854 Palestinians, including 6,150 children, killed in the war. Nearly 2 months into the Israel-Hamas war, a 4-day pause in fighting began in Gaza on Friday as part of an agreement between Hamas and Israel. Hostage release was a part of the agreement, owing to which Hamas handed over 13 Israeli hostages and 4 foreigners to the International Committee of the Red Cross on Saturday. That is November 25th night. Qatar's foreign ministry said after a brief disruption earlier to the deal to free captives was overcome with the mediation of Qatar and Egypt. Tension continued into the night outside Israel's Ofer military jail at the Betunia crossing near Ramallah in the West Bank on Saturday, where gunfire was heard before a wounded person was taken away by medics. Earlier, 3 people were reportedly injured by live bullets, according to the Palestine Red Crescent Society. The jail was the scene of Friday's handover of Palestinian prisoners from Israeli custody as part of the Gaza hostage swap deal and ceasefire. Earlier, the armed wing of Hamas said it had decided to delay Saturday's scheduled second round of hostage releases until Israel met conditions, including committing to let aid trucks into northern Gaza, and claimed Israel was failing to respect the terms of the Palestinian prisoner release agreement as part of the hostage deal. Israeli PM Benjamin Netanyahu closely monitors the operation to bring back to Israel a second batch of hostages freed from Hamas captivity. Netanyahu, along with National Security Advisor Chachi Hanegbi and other military officials, were at the military headquarters in Tel Aviv as Hamas fighters released 17 hostages, including Israeli women and children as well as Thai farm workers during the second day of the war's first truce, the Red Cross said. The official release happened later in the night after a brief disruption earlier to the deal to free captives was overcome with the mediation of Qatar and Egypt. Israeli protesters expressed disappointment on Saturday as a scheduled hostage release from Gaza was apparently delayed. But the deal appeared to be back on track on Saturday night after a row over aid supplies to more of the besieged enclave was resolved following mediation by Qatar and Egypt. A Palestinian official familiar with the diplomacy said Hamas would continue with the 4-day truce agreed with Israel, the first break in fighting in 7 weeks of war.
We are very, very disappointed as we have been waiting so long for the return of those hostages. We are very disappointed because we were thinking they are going to be all children. We are hoping for the baby at the age of 9 months to arrive this evening, and it is not arriving. We are very, very, very afraid it will not happen.
I think this is a snag that may well be able to be overcome. I feel sorry for the people who have relatives who are hostages, and they have to bear this delay, which is probably excruciating for them and very, very difficult to handle.
The Israeli army on Sunday released a video of a 9-year-old hostage who was held by Hamas running into her father's arms as she was brought back to Israel after spending her 9th birthday as a captive in Gaza Strip the day before. Returned in the second group of hostages released by Hamas under a Qatari brokered deal with Israel, she appeared in good health along with fellow hostage Hila Rotem Shoshani, whose mother remains in Gaza.
So for me, it's a closure. Emily Hand is a closure for me because unfortunately I'm the one who told her father that she has been found murdered. And a week later I'm the one who told the father that she probably captured. So it's a kind of a relief for me that she's still alive, she's here, she's with us.
Solvi and other community members were watching video of the release of the hostages at the Dead Sea Resort, where most of the kibbutz residents were evacuated to after the raid.
And I have to tell his father.
Hundreds of Palestinians welcomed freed prisoners in the early hours on a Sunday in the West Bank. Footage appeared to show released prisoners being carried on people's shoulders as crowds cheered, clapped and waved flags in the streets. The Israeli authorities released 39 Palestinian prisoners, including 6 women and 33 children, from 2 prisons as part of the second batch of the exchange deal with Hamas. The Palestinian news agency Wafa reported earlier on Sunday. Isra Jabez, a Palestinian detainee freed by Israel under a hostage deal, agreed with the Islamist group Hamas, reunited with her family on Sunday. Jabez suffered from burn injuries, which are the result of an explosion in her car during what Israel said was an attempt to murder in 2015. She was sentenced for 11 years in jail. Tens of thousands of pro-Palestinian protesters marched through central London on Saturday to call for a permanent ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. This protest is the latest in a series of similar weekend demonstrations in the capital since the 7-week war began. Saturday's rally took place during a 4-day truce between Israel and the Palestinian Islamist group Hamas, the first break in the fighting. But protesters said that was not enough.
No, the state of Israel must go.
Protesters carried Palestinian flags and held signs calling for a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. Some protesters chanted, "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free."
When do we want it?
Aerial footage over the protest route city's centre showed a slow-moving crowd carrying flags and banners. A police helicopter was monitoring the protest from above. The London Metropolitan Police reported that a small number of the protesters were arrested for unlawful activities. Just a few weeks ago, former Interior Minister Suella Braverman was fired by Prime Minister Rishi Sunak after she had claimed that police was very lenient on the pro-Palestinian protesters. After more than a month of Palestinian rocket fire and Israeli airstrikes, a temporary truce on Friday brought a rare silence over the Gaza Strip. With the ceasefire taking hold, displaced Palestinians, including those from heavily bombarded areas, cautiously returned to their homes. In the southern city of Khan Yunis, streets were filled with people on the move.
For the first time in more than a month, Palestinian rocket fire and Israeli airstrikes fell silent over the Gaza Strip at the start of a temporary truce on Friday. As the tentative ceasefire between Israeli forces and Palestinian militants took hold, some of the hundreds of thousands of Gaza residents who fled fighting decided to try and return to whatever was left of their homes. In the southern city of Khan Yunis, which has been housing thousands of displaced families, including from heavily bombarded northern Gaza, streets were packed with people on the move. Ahmed Wael told Reuters he felt happy and at ease.
I am going back to my home. Our hearts are rested, especially because there is a 4-day official ceasefire, better than returning to live in tents. I am very tired from sitting there, without any food or water. At home, we can live. We drink tea. We make bread using fire and the oven.
The United Nations says around 2/3 of Gaza's 2.3 million residents are now homeless, including most of the population of Gaza City and the rest of the northern half of the enclave, reduced to a wasteland by Israel's assault. Israel invaded the Gaza Strip in an operation it says is aimed at destroying the Hamas Islamist movement governing the enclave, after Hamas fighters launched a surprise attack on Israeli communities, killing 1,200 people and taking hundreds of hostages. Palestinian health authorities say more than 12,000 people have been killed in the devastating Israeli assault that reduced swaths of the densely populated territory to rubble. Israeli planes dropped leaflets in the southern part of Gaza, telling residents not to attempt to return to the north, which it said remained a war zone and was not safe. Many Palestinians worried they would never be able to return. Ala al-Mubashar fled Gaza City. She sat with her children outside a hospital in Khan Yunis, watching others flood the streets.
I see people coming and going, and I swear my soul is crying. My heart is crying. I just want to go back, even if just for an hour, to see my house and the neighborhood, to see Gaza City and what happened to it.
She and her children have been living inside a school converted into a shelter.
I went back before the Jews set up a checkpoint. There was no neighborhood or anything. Everything was destroyed. What about the people? Where will they go? When there is a ceasefire, where will people go?
Once more, a Lebanese citizen, Rose Rostam, faces displacement as conflict spills across the border. She is part of the 50,000 people, as per the UN, forced to flee due to clashes on Lebanon's border with Israel. This marks the third instance where conflict has uprooted her life. Here's more details.
Rose Rostam has had her life uprooted before. This time, she's among the some 50,000 people the UN says have been displaced because of clashes on Lebanon's border with Israel. On October 7th, a war started between Gaza and Israel. Hezbollah started firing at Israel, and we live near the border in a village called Burj al-Malouk. Then the shells began to land very close. And we have children. Of course, they get very scared. We couldn't stay in the house and hear the shelling and firing. We were frightened. We then went to Sidon, to my brother-in-law's house. It marks the third time conflict has driven her from her home. During Lebanon's civil war in the 1980s, she moved twice. The first time because of Israeli bombardment. The second was to flee Palestinian militant attacks. Lebanon is a nation of displaced peoples. The influx of Palestinians following the creation of Israel in 1948 helped spark the Lebanese civil war decades later. In 2006, hundreds of thousands were displaced during the Israel and Hezbollah war. Then came Syria's civil war in 2011, which led to the arrival of 1.5 million refugees. That, combined with the 2019 financial collapse, which destroyed Lebanon's economy, has left many without an income or job. The combination of economic despair and the influx of refugees is sparking tension with locals. Meanwhile, many refugees, faced with growing hostility and low work prospects, are eyeing Europe and other countries. Rostem says her family used to be comfortable when her husband sold car parts, but he was forced to close up shop when the fighting began. Now she checks the news to see if her house was among the latest hit by rockets.
Brands based in the Western nations are facing the impact of a boycott campaign in Egypt and Jordan over Israeli military's offensive in Gaza. Our next report tells you more.
This McDonald's in Giza, Egypt has seen few customers in recent weeks. When Reuters visited in early November, the inside appeared empty. That's because the fast food restaurant has been hit by a boycott over Israel's military offensive in Gaza since the Hamas attack on October 7th. The campaign has targeted Western brands in Arab countries over perceptions about pro-Israeli stances and financial ties. A sign in the window saying the franchise operator and its staff support Palestinians has done little to change those perceptions. Here's Ahmed Izzat, who lives in Cairo.
It is fundamental for us as people supporting our Palestinian brothers to at the very least stop buying the products that help the Zionist entity kill our Palestinian brothers in Gaza.
McDonald's has said it's dismayed by disinformation about its position on the conflict. Its Egyptian franchise has pledged $650,000 in aid to Gaza. An employee at the corporate offices of McDonald's in Egypt said sales at this franchise fell by at least 70% in October and November compared to the same months last year. Starbucks has also been targeted in the boycott campaign, despite the coffee giant saying it's a non-political organization. An Egyptian supplier to Starbucks and McDonald's says he's noticed client demand has slowed down by about 50%. Even smaller businesses are feeling the pinch too. Kiosk owner Issam Abu Shalabi says customers are demanding Egyptian soft drinks instead of products from Israel or the US. I see it as very wrong, he says. What does it mean to drink something or not drink it? Shalabi says if people really want to support Palestinians, they should fight alongside them. But Hassan Mahmoud, with Egypt's boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement, says the campaign lets people feel like they're making an impact and hitting companies where it hurts. This Cairo supermarket says it's had an uptick in sales because it replaced boycotted products with local ones. In Jordan, this grocery store has signs warning customers if a product is being boycotted. This customer says that if a boycotted item is picked up by mistake, she would return it immediately. Still, some remain skeptical about the effectiveness of boycotts. Take-up has also been uneven, with no major impact seen in some countries, including Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Tunisia.
And now a look at some more international stories. Bangladesh has invited foreign observers, especially from the Western nations, for its upcoming general elections, which are scheduled to take place on January 7th next year. This invitation to foreign dignitaries was extended by the Foreign Secretary of Bangladesh, Masood bin Momen, while he was at Bangladesh High Commission in New Delhi. Momen was attending an outreach event at the High Commission with around 90 Delhi-based diplomats who are concurrently accredited to Bangladesh. The invitation to foreign observers comes at a time when Bangladesh has come under growing pressure from the Western nations, especially the United States, to hold free and fair elections and to also hold talks with the opposition, a Bangladesh National Party. Momen, however, pushed back on the West's proposal to hold talks with the opposition, saying that there was no time left for any more political dialogue with the BNP. Momen assured that the elections would be inclusive as several number of parties would be contesting and all the parties would be provided an even contesting field.
I met many ambassadors and representatives from missions which are concurrently accredited to Bangladesh, and briefed them about our socio-economic development, briefed them about Bangladesh-India relationship, and also briefed them about the latest political situation in Bangladesh and our preparations for holding a free and fair election on 7th of January. Many of these ambassadors cannot go frequently to Bangladesh, and ambassadors in Bangladesh, we reach out to them more frequently. So I thought that they should hear directly from me and then report back to their capitals, so that these misperceptions and rumors have no place in their reporting. No, I mean, with US we have a long-term relationship, and the last couple of years we have engaged with them at various levels. There were a number of senior officials from the US side visited Bangladesh, and also many of our senior officials, including myself, we visited the US. So I think at the official level, we have good communication. But perception is that, from time to time, that the situation or the relationship has some problems. But US has assured us that they have no favorites in our elections, and they would like to see a free and fair and peaceful elections, which we are also committed to. So I don't see any big problem. Their ambassador went on a personal trip, so that is perfectly all right.
In Rome, thousands rallied demanding an end to violence against women following the tragic murder of 22-year-old university student Nvidia Chechethin earlier this month. Eyewitness video captured the impassioned crowd chanting and marching through the city streets. The nationwide protests reflect growing outrage and a call for change. Italian lawmakers responded by pledging to tighten measures against violence towards women, approving a set of initiatives on November 22nd to enhance protection for vulnerable women and combat femicide throughout the country. The collective outcry underscores the urgent need for action and awareness to address gender-based violence. Lima also witnessed a march by hundreds of women demanding justice for femicide victims on the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. Chanting and brandishing placards, protesters spotlighted gender-based violence issues including rape, child pregnancies and murder. The mother of a femicide victim joined the march, expressing concerns about her daughter's murderer potentially being released. Authorities recorded 110 femicides and over 110,000 cases of family-related gender-based violence this year. The impassioned demonstration underscores the pressing need for addressing and combating pervasive gender violence in Peru. Protests were also seen in Madrid, where thousands rallied on Saturday for the International Day of Non-Violence Against Women, denouncing patriarchy and urging governments to take affirmative action. People were seen marching along Gran Via Avenue, holding the banner, "It's over." The protesters, dressed in purple, angrily chanted against violence. They also expressed solidarity with Palestinians and waved flags and staged a performance at Madrid's City Hall. One 1,273 women have lost their lives to gender violence in Spain since 2003, with 52 fatalities in 2023 alone. The powerful demonstration highlights the urgent need for societal change and a government intervention to combat the pervasive issue of violence against women. In a newly unsealed legal complaint, Meta, the parent company of Instagram, is under scrutiny for allegedly mishandling reports of users under the age of 13. The complaint filed by the Attorney General of 33 states reveals that despite over 1.1 million reports since early 2019, Meta disabled only a fraction of underage accounts. The social media giant is accused of collecting children's personal information without parental consent, violating federal children's privacy laws. The company may face significant civil penalties if the allegations are proven. According to the complaint, Meta had knowledge of millions of Instagram users under 13, yet continued to allow them on the platform. The charges are part of a larger federal lawsuit accusing Meta of concealing internal studies on user harms. The unsealed filing provides details from the state's lawsuit, including internal emails and employee chats. It alleges that Meta actively sought underage users, failing to prioritize effective age-checking systems. Meta responded stating it has worked for a decade to ensure online safety for teenagers and criticizing the complaint for mischaracterization. The company contends that Instagram's terms prohibit users under 13 and it has measures in place to remove such accounts when identified. Meta suggests that age verification is a complex challenge, advocating for federal legislation to require parental approval for teens downloading apps. The privacy charges revolve around the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, with potential fines exceeding $50,000 per violation. The lawsuit argues that Meta neglected to build systems to detect underage users due to their perceived importance as a crucial demographic for future growth. The filing highlights internal company data indicating Meta's awareness of underage users and the automatic dismissal of certain reports of users under 13. This legal action follows Meta's 2019 settlement with the Federal Trade Commission over privacy violations, emphasizing the ongoing challenges in managing underage users on digital platforms. Geopolitical experts and analysts are keeping a close eye on the developments between Taiwan and China. Beijing sees the Taiwan as its own territory and has openly threatened to take it over by force. Washington is the island's biggest arms supplier, but Taiwanese authorities are also keen to show what they might do to defend themselves. Our next report tells you more about the issue.
To the sound of a military tune, people file in and out of Ximbin Naval Base in southern Taiwan. The Navy has opened its doors to show people how it plans to protect them. They're showing off home-produced military hardware, and this ship is the star of the show, making its public debut. The Yushan is a new amphibious transport vessel, the biggest of its kind Taiwan has ever made. Steelworker Wang Hongjun brought his daughter and nephew to take a look.
I've come to support our national defence as we face threats from China. Taiwan's awareness of the need for self-defence is relatively weak, but if the military often holds events like this, it's a chance for people to become familiar with the Navy, as well as our own national defence.
Media are welcome to take the Navy's message around Taiwan and beyond.
Taiwan's defense ministry has invited media to tour the 150-meter-long vessel, which only entered service earlier this year. The aim? To send a message to its people, but also Beijing, that the island democracy is ready for war.
It's a goal that's ever more pressing. Chinese military intimidation of Taiwan has soared in recent years, and Taiwan's ships may face this. China's aircraft carrier, the Shandong, which recently transited the Taiwan Strait. It's a ship that dwarfs any in Taiwan's navy. Taiwan's new home-produced gear may look flashy, but the gulf in defense capability with Beijing is vast, and it's widening. That stark imbalance worries many in Taiwan, including Cai Zonglin. He used to be a soldier, but left the army, skeptical it was battle-ready.
Regular units put too much emphasis on duties unrelated to war. I'm worried the army wouldn't be able to fight a war in its current state.
He decided to do what he could to draw attention to his worries, so he walked around Taiwan's mainland, all the way around. The 1,100-kilometer walk took 48 days. It was a one-man warning of the threat posed by Beijing.
Taiwan has always been in a more precarious situation than other countries. For people here to have no concept of national defense is really dangerous.
The government is taking some action to make people feel safer. From next year, Taiwan will extend the conscription period for men from 4 months to 1 year. But a more fundamental message underpins events like this. A reminder to Taiwan's people of the threat that made building warships like this necessary in the first place.
Semiconductor chip maker Nvidia has told customers in China that it is delaying the launch of a new artificial intelligence chip. It designed to comply with US export rules until the first quarter of next year. Our next report tells you more about this.
China must wait longer for a new AI chip made by Nvidia. Two sources told Reuters that was the message the US chipmaker delivered to customers in the country. The semiconductor, known as the H20, is designed to comply with US export rules and is the most powerful of 3 chips Nvidia has developed specifically for China. The firm was expected to launch its new products as early as this month, but sources say that's now pushed back to the first quarter of next year. They were told the H20 was delayed due to issues server manufacturers were having in integrating it. Nvidia plans 2 other chips to comply with new US export rules, the L20 and L2. The sources said the L20 faced no delays, but were unable to share information on the L2. Now the delays mean Nvidia could struggle to preserve market share against local rivals like Huawei. The US firm has bet on the chips to keep its market share in China. Nvidia was banned from shipping products including advanced AI chips by Washington's strict export rules. Those curbs give rivals like Huawei a chance to win orders that might otherwise have gone to Nvidia. Earlier this month, Reuters reported Chinese internet giant Baidu placed a big order for Huawei AI chips this year.
China is witnessing a rise in cases of pneumonia and respiratory illness. Clusters of such illness have been seen among children in northern China. Schools have been shut and pediatric hospitals are getting overwhelmed. China has informed the WHO that no new or unusual pathogen has been detected till now. Our next report tells you more.
China is grappling with a spike in respiratory illnesses as it enters its first full winter season since it lifted COVID-19 restrictions. The government is calling for vigilance, with cases among children appearing especially high in northern areas, including Beijing. On Friday, Christian Lindmeier with the World Health Organization said it doesn't look like the spike is due to unusual or new pathogens.
In the current outbreak of respiratory illnesses, the reported symptoms are common to several respiratory diseases, and as of now, at the present time, Chinese surveillance and hospital systems report that the clinical manifestations are caused by known pathogens in circulation. Mycoplasma pneumonia is a common respiratory pathogen and a common cause of pediatric pneumonia and is readily treated with antibiotics.
The situation came into the spotlight earlier this week when the WHO highlighted a report on clusters of undiagnosed pneumonia in children. That's when it asked for more information from Beijing. On Thursday, the WHO said China had responded and provided data. Both China and the WHO have faced questions about the transparency of reporting on the earliest cases of COVID-19 that emerged in late 2019. Authorities began issuing health advisories this month, warning of long waits and the risk of cross-infection at crowded hospitals. Outside the Children's Hospital in Shanghai, parents said they aren't too worried just yet.
I hope people won't blame everything on the pandemic because there is one. Let's use science to approach an issue instead.
The WHO said the rise in cases of illness could be linked to the curbing of COVID-19 rules, along with a months-long circulation of the known bugs.
Zimbabwe's government has started restricting public gatherings and food vending while monitoring burials in all areas affected by cholera. This after cases of the cholera disease saw a spike. Our next report tells you more about this.
Zimbabwe's government is imposing restrictions on public gatherings and food vending as cases of cholera soared this week. New cases of the disease jumped from 437 to over 1,200, the biggest increase since the outbreak started in February. In addition to the restrictions, the government is also monitoring burials in all affected areas. Authorities last week declared a state of emergency in the capital, Harare, which has the highest number of new infections. In the low-income Kowadzana suburb, where 7 of the capital's 13 deaths occurred, residents complained about erratic supplies of clean water, uncollected garbage, and raw sewage flowing in the streets. Resident Bertha Rawizi is receiving treatment at a cholera isolation center. She says she started feeling stomach aches, then passed yellow, watery stool. Residents here have dug up shallow wells to meet their needs, but Rawizi says they too have become contaminated, leading to confusion about which water source is safe. Harare's municipal authorities have been distributing water treatment tablets as part of efforts to fight the disease. To date, the country has recorded 155 deaths linked to cholera from around 8,800 cases, according to the health ministry. The outbreak has brought back fears from 2008, when more than 4,000 people in the southern African country died from cholera.
The Uttarkashi tunnel rescue operation has now entered into the 15th day. In the latest update, vertical drilling to rescue the 41 trapped workers in Uttarkashi's Cholera tunnel has begun. The operation has entered its final phase with just a few meters of rubble left to cut through. The American auger machine is also being removed from the tunnel. The rescue authorities are now trying to remove the auger machine, which got stuck inside the tunnel after its blades were damaged. Horizontal drilling operations have been suspended till the time the auger machine is removed from the tunnel. Plasma cutter machine has been brought in to clear the debris from inside the tunnel while work is on to get the auger machine removed from the tunnel. Manual drilling will be considered once the auger machine is removed. Authorities are also thinking of other options to complete the rescue. Indian Air Force has flown in critical DRDO-made equipment to Dehradun. From here, the equipment will be taken to the tunnel site. A big drilling machine has been taken to the point from where vertical drilling is being considered. But this option is also not that easy, as a lot of muck has fallen below. With several options and rescue plans being considered, officials have refrained from giving any time frame within which the rescue mission could be completed. They have expressed hope for a positive outcome once the manual drilling inside the tunnel starts.
The plasma cutter has arrived here and the cutting of the struck portion of auger machine has begun. Also, the pipe that had bent is also being cut, and after that only the drilling can start. Drilling won't start actually, because authorities are now exploring the option of manual digging, and for that they want the auger machine to be withdrawn from the pipes because it is stuck inside and the work is not being done right now. So the plasma cutter that has been brought in from Hyderabad is here now, and it is cutting the stuck part of the auger machine and the pipe that is bent. So the latest update from the site is this, and also the manual digging that will take place after the machine, the auger machine is withdrawn, is going to take time because they have to dig up to 20 meters at least if the distance is not enhanced further after the machine is withdrawn, because there is a possibility that distance may increase because pipe will be cut and the muck will increase there. So the part that is to be digged manually can increase. The distance to reach the workers can increase, and it is going to take time to dig it manually and reach up to the workers. And also the authorities are exploring other options also. The next best option that is being explored is the vertical digging that will take place from top of the mountain. And this is the road that BRO has built. You can see the road that BRO has built. It is a 1.2 kilometers of road to the top of the tunnel, from where the vertical drilling will start. You can see the laborers out there working on the road on top of the tunnel. This is not the exact point, but it is a few meters away from this place, and from there the vertical drilling will start, and they will have to dig vertically up to 80 to 100 meters, and that won't be very easy because vertical drilling has its own risks. They will have to first of all find out whether there are any aquifers inside, how much of cavity has been created inside, because the muck has fallen in the tunnel and the soil has fallen in the tunnel. Of course, there must be a cavity created. So all these things will have to be taken care of before they drill. After the workers are rescued, arrangements have been made. You can see, as we have been already showing you, that there is a temporary medical facility set up there where the primary health checkup will be done, and then you can see the ambulances parked down there. There's a special parking there, and you can see a few ambulances there. Like this, until yesterday there were many ambulances because there was a possibility that the workers trapped inside will be rescued. But because now there are grim chances of the workers to be rescued within 1 day or 2 days, so the number of ambulances parked here has reduced, but the ambulances are parked 2 to 3 kilometers away, so around 40 ambulances are nearby. So through these ambulances they will be taken to a 41 bed facility in Chinyali Sor, and every arrangement has been made, and if there is a need and somebody needs more medical facility and it is not sufficient for them here, so they will be airlifted to Rishikesh Ames Hospital from the specially made helipad around 6 kilometers from here. So these are the arrangements that have been made, and every care is being taken, and authorities, the relatives who are present here, they are regularly speaking to their people who are stuck inside, and medicines are being supplied, vitamin D tablets are being supplied, because so that the workers stuck inside do not face the deficiency of vitamin D due to lack of sunlight inside. So everything, every day doctors are talking to them, psychologists are talking to them to take care of their mental well-being also. So this is what is happening right now. All the options that are being explored have their own risks, but authorities are trying their best to evacuate the workers from inside. It may take some time, but gradually we may be able to, anybody, the authorities, the workers, the agencies who are working here for the rescue operation are hopeful that though it may take time, but all the 41 workers trapped inside will come out safely. That is what they are hoping for. Now what our authorities doing is to give connectivity to the workers. You can see this BSNL instrument here. So the mobile connectivity is what they are trying is that workers are connected 24/7 to their relatives, to the authorities, everybody, because until now what was happening was that they were speaking to the people inside through microphones and speakers, but now the authorities have set up a connection. They are trying to set up a connection. So you can see the equipment here that is that has been placed here, and the wires are being taken to inside the tunnel, so that the workers, 41 workers who are stranded inside, for almost 15 days now are connected 24/7 with their relatives who are waiting for them outside, and to the authorities and to rescue workers and to the mess where the food is being prepared for them. So everything is being taken care of because it is going to take time. Earlier they were expecting that they will be coming out soon and work was going at a fast pace, but because the time has increased, so the authorities have decided that this connection should be provided to the workers trapped inside.
हमको पता चला यहाँ जो मेस में खाना फिर आता था तो बताकर नहीं आता था कि हम कहाँ जा रहे हैं। जब आ जाता था तब बताता था कि हम पहुँच गए हैं। तो पहले जब बात हमने की तो हमने ये कहा कैसे हो बेटे, जो भी बात करेगा तो यही कहेगा। तो कहने लगा हम ठीक हैं और हम कहने खाना उना की व्यवस्था आप घबराते तो नहीं खाना पीना पाते हो? कहला हाँ पाते हैं पापा। घबराते तो नहीं? घबराना मत बेटे, एक दूसरे जितने लोग हो टीम साथ में एक हंसकर जीना है, जंग लड़के बाहर निकलना, घबराना नहीं बेटे। कहला नहीं पापा हारने वाले में के हम नहीं हैं। कहने लगा और ठीक है सबका हाल चल। हम कहें ठीक है, आप कहा खाना पीना खाए रहना। हमने कहा बेटा आप खाना पीना खाए रहना, हम सब बने रहना, हिम्मत मत हारना, काम जारी है चल रहा है। सरियों का झुंड लोहे का आगे पड़ गया है, गाटर वगैरह, तो वो काटने में समय बीत रहा है। वो सब जब कट के साफ हो जाएगा, जहाँ साफ हुआ तहाँ बाहर हो जाओगे।
मेरे अंदर भाई फंसे हुए हैं जिनका नाम सबा अहमद है, यहाँ कंपनी में वो सीनियर फोरमैन के पोस्ट पे है। मेरे से पर डे उनसे बातचीत होती है, 2-3 बार 4 बार बात होती है। वो लोग सब अंदर में बढ़िया से हैं, लोग मज़े से हैं, कोई तरह का अंदर में प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। हर चीज़ खाने पीने का अवेलेबल है, बाहर से भेजा जा रहा है। कोई तरह का जो भी उधर से वो लोग रिक्वायर कर रहे हैं वो सामान इधर से भेज दिया जा रहा है। मैं यहाँ 13 तारीख को आया हूँ, 13 तारीख से अभी तक मैं पर डे कॉन्टेक्ट में हूँ। इस तरह का तो कभी हादसा मैं देखा नहीं हूँ। और जो हादसा हुआ है इसमें सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट भी है, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट भी है, सब शामिल है। जो भी बाहर से भी टीम आई है, बहुत एक्सपर्ट सारे लोग आए हुए हैं। ये लोग सब एकजुट होकर के कंपनी के साथ काम कर रहे हैं। ये बहुत बड़ी बात है, ये बहुत खुशी की बात है।
उम्मीद भी होती है
सब लोगों को यही उम्मीद लगा हुआ है कि जितना जल्द हो सके वो लोग 41 आदमी बाहर निकाल ले। वो सब घर के बारे में, सब फैमिली वाले लोगों के बारे में पूछ रहे थे, सब लोग के बारे में बता दिए कि सब लोग बढ़िया से है, कोई तरह के किसी को ये नहीं है, तुम अपना बढ़िया से रहो, तुम्हारे को कोई टेंशन ना लेना है। जो भी है यहाँ से कंपनी जो भी हो रहा है जितना जल्दी है तुम लोग को बाहर निकालने का प्रयास कर रही है और बहुत जल्दी आप लोग बाहर आ जाओगे। मगर ये भी अपने भाई को बोला हूँ कि जितना भी लोग हैं सब लोगों को मिला के चलो, सब लोगों को हौसला दो कि हौसला नहीं हारना है और जितना जल्दी है आप लोगों को बाहर निकालें। सेहत के बारे में बोला, सबकी सेहत ठीक है, किसी को कोई तरह का ऐसे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, सब लोग बढ़िया से रह रहे हैं।
And now in the bulletin, let's take a look at the stories from around the world that show us what's happening on the front of climate change. Lahore, Pakistan retains its position among the world's top 4 most polluted cities. On Saturday morning, the air quality index in Lahore hit a score of 230, prompting significant measures. Due to the alarming pollution levels, the Punjab government has decided to close schools on both Saturday and Sunday. Additionally, government offices in Lahore will remain shut. Markets, however, will open only after 3 p.m. on Saturday. The state government attributes this hazardous pollution to the burning of stubble in neighbouring countries. In response, cloud seeding plans are in progress. The aim is to induce rain which may help disperse the lingering smog and haze in Lahore. Authorities are actively working to address this environmental crisis. South Asia has become the global hotspot for air pollution, with studies finding 4 of the world's most polluted countries and 9 of the 10 most polluted cities are in the region.
South Asia has become the global hotspot for air pollution, with toxic smog disturbing the lives of millions of people across India, Pakistan and Bangladesh.
Because of severe pollution,
it's become very difficult to breathe. There's a lot of smog, it's difficult to breathe.
Studies found 9 of the world's 10 most polluted cities are in the region. And while causes like industry and vehicles affect most countries, certain major contributors are unique to South Asia. Let's take a closer look. Solid fuel combustion for cooking and heating, human cremation, and the burning of agricultural waste all worsen air quality in the region. In New Delhi, about 38% of this year's pollution has been caused by stubble burning. It's a common farming practice to clear the fields after the rice harvest. An increase in the number of vehicles on the roads as the region develops is also exacerbating the pollution problem. In India and Pakistan, traffic has increased fourfold since the early 2000s. Over the last 2 decades, South Asian countries have seen rapid industrialization, economic development, and population growth, leading to an increased demand for energy and fossil fuels. And even though countries have started trying to curb pollution, the measures so far have had limited effectiveness. To curb stubble burning, for example, governments can offer subsidies on better harvesting machines. But demand has been limited due to machinery costs and long waiting times.
The world's largest iceberg, A23A, is on the move after 3 decades. The Antarctic giant, which is 3 times the size of New York City, is drifting past the Antarctic Peninsula. Propelled by winds and currents, scientists are monitoring its rare journey and are unsure if it will impact wildlife or shipping routes.
This iceberg is one of the oldest icebergs in Antarctica, as well as being the largest at the moment. And it broke off the ice shelf in 1986, and then it remained grounded on a high point of the sea floor, quite close to where it broke off, and it stayed there for about 30 years since the mid-80s. And then in the recent years, so since around 2020, we first started to see it moving a little bit, and now it's moving relatively quickly up the eastern side of the Antarctic Peninsula and out into the open ocean. Where it was grounded quite close to the continent, the ocean is very cold. It has moved around a little bit, but I think it over time, it's probably just thinned slightly and just got that little bit of extra buoyancy that's allowed it to lift off the ocean floor and get pushed by the ocean currents. You know, an iceberg of this scale has potential to survive for quite a long time in the Southern Ocean, even though it's much warmer and it will start to melt more quickly. It could still make its way reasonably far north up towards kind of South Africa, where it can disrupt shipping.
Thanks for watching. It's a wrap from me for now.
Hamas attacks Israel. Israel Defense Forces strike back at Hamas. As the war unfolds, watch the comprehensive coverage of the Israel war only on News 9+. To watch the full story, download the app now.